Hello, welcome to my channel, KC. That's me, Gary Chug, the Sledge Storyteller, here to talk about the wonderful world of storytelling and to open up discussion about how we can tell the best stories we possibly can. But last week's video was part one about superheroes of the Bronze Age, so this week's video is Bronze Age part two. If you haven't already seen part one, here's the link. If you're watching this on Instagram, you'll have to look back in my previous videos. But part one was about the successful character experiments and not so successful character experiments, bold attempts to buck the comics code and also bring in tragedy and more social relevance to superhero comics. And lastly, that anti-hero suddenly began with Wolverine and the Punisher. Now, one other earth-shaking event in the Bronze Age was when the much heralded artist, going back to the earliest days of the Golden Age, Jack Kirby, feeling like Marvel Comics had shortchanged him as Stan Lee's co-creator in such titles as Fantastic Four, The Hulk, X-Men, and Thor, he moved over to DC Comics to create the New Gods. Although not originally intended to be part of the core DC universe, because of its popularity, it eventually did become part of that. Still, it was a departure from the familiar look of superheroes. By the name of the New Gods, it was a reworking of what Jack Kirby had wanted to do with Marvel's Thor and his Asgardian world, so he just had to adapt that under new characters. But the comic story goes with the twin planets of New Genesis and Apocalypse. Now, New Genesis it was a paradise planet filled with lush forests, mountains, and rivers, and was governed by a benevolent ruler named High Father. While Apocalypse was a dystopian world of pollution and ruins, and predominantly mechanical in its landscape with many fire pits and ruled by the tyrannical Darkseid. Orion, he was the son of Darkseid, and he married Becca, the daughter of an apocalypse resistance leader named He-Man. But as a child, Orion was traded to High Father for scot-free, High Father's own son, all as a peace pact between the two worlds. But that peace, of course, eventually became unstable and war started. But it was a war that Superman and various heroes in the Justice League eventually became part of that. And Darkseid has become mainly a Superman villain in the eyes of many fans. But now, I will, full disclosure, let me point out that Jack Kirby did eventually come to feel like he was shortchanged by DC as well. So we can say that in the Bronze Age, comic creators started to gain traction when it came to their stake in their intellectual properties. I want to talk further from the New Gods about how more superheroes came forth that defied conventional design. As well, the Marvel characters that make up the Guardians of the Galaxy, they also came forth, and this is one of several examples. We don't have time to cover them all. But those characters you see in Guardians of the Galaxy, they all came in separately before they were organized as part of the Guardians of the Galaxy 2008. So if we discuss that, that's going to be part of a modern age. But Star-Lord, as you know him, Peter Quill, and also Rocket Raccoon, they both came forth in their separate titles in 1976. Groot, he actually goes clear back to 1960. He was just over time modified to become a superhero. He had an entirely different thing. That's kind of complicated. Gamora, she came about in 1975, and Drax the Destroyer in 1973. But so that was their beginnings, and an example of outside of the conventional superhero. Bronze Age also saw an explosion of both merchandising and multimedia. Now, so with merchandising, the Superman that started right out of the gates as DC execs picked up on his popularity. Superman is often compared with Mickey Mouse in terms of the extent of merchandise for how long In the 40s, anything that Mickey's image was on, you can bet that Superman, there was a Superman version of that. Batman's merchandising didn't really pick up until the 60s series. Then everyone else had theirs pick up during the Bronze Age, mostly beginning in the 70s with action figures designed by Mego Toys for both DC and Marvel. By the end of the Bronze Age in the mid 80s, Mego had gone bankrupt, so DC went to Kenner for a new string of figures, while Marvel's were designed by Mattel. But all during this time, imagery from both companies could be found on everything from toothbrushes to bedroom curtains, which of course we still see today. And multimedia was a realization by DC and Marvel that fewer kids were reading comics, so they were acquainted through other forms of media. So now again, of course, the Bronze Age is that's where we go, multimedia, but it too has its beginning in the Golden Age. The first superhero movies were just movie serials, which were basically 20-minute segments of a miniseries that you went to the theater for, because most families didn't have televisions until around the mid-50s. The original Captain Marvel had a serial. Both Batman and Superman had 2 serials, and there was one with Captain America. You can find all of them on YouTube. Just know that the fact that most people are unaware of them speaks to their production value and overall quality. Speaking for myself, they're guilty pleasures. But Superman also had a radio show and theatrical cartoons during the 1940s, as well as you have the George Reeves TV series that you had in the 50s, and then a cartoon by Filmation Studios alongside the Batman 60s series. Filmation also eventually picked up Batman and members of the Justice League in their TV cartoons. But Marvel, they had some very cheap cartoons in the 60s where characters, they barely moved. I think you can find those on YouTube, Hulk, Thor, but they did have greater movement and a lot of stock footage to make a greater quality Spider-Man cartoon as well. There was here and there Fantastic Four cartoons. But impressive as that lineup is, the early 70s saw greater quality animation for DC with Hanna-Barbera's Super Friends, which evolved over time to become the Superpower Show and Galactic Guardians by the mid-80s. And back to the 70s, Filmation had the half-hour live-action series Shazam. By then, like it was 1973, they had bought licensing from Fawcett Publications, whereas beforehand they had sued against Fawcett Publications. By this time, they decided, it's worth using this character. We'll still call it Captain Marvel then. But this half-hour live-action series, it's another guilty pleasure of mine. I think Shazam meets Highway to Heaven. But after that series got canceled, Filmation created a Shazam cartoon more in line with the comics, using greater range of those characters. The live-action, you had Captain Marvel, Billy Batson. Basically, if you're going to call those 2 characters or just one character, the only character from the comics that was in that series. But the early 80s saw the introduction of both a solo Spider-Man cartoon and Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. Marvel knew Spider-Man was their marquee character at the time, so they used these series as an opportunity to have several other Marvel heroes as guest stars to acquaint the general public with them, like Captain America, Namor, the Submariner, Doctor Strange, Thor, Daredevil, and the X-Men. But also in the late 70s, Marvel took opportunities to make live-action TV pilots of Spider-Man, the Hulk, Doctor Strange, and Captain America, but only the Hulk managed to find real success that led to an ongoing series. And I don't see anyone in the know who'd argue against the notion that the greatest superhero media achievement outside of comics in the Bronze Age was the Superman movies that began in 1978 with Christopher Reeve. Beyond just a showcase of movie-making innovations, I mean, that live-action Shazam series, it had the standard fight depiction method. Superman, those who the special effects crew that worked on that movie, they went through extensive experimentation to make true its tagline, "You will believe that a man can fly." It was also the beginning of giving the public an idea that superheroes can be depicted in a way that can reach people of all ages. They can take it more seriously than you originally thought. But what to creatively take from these topics of the Bronze Age? Superheroes, here we find that they lend themselves to a wide range of criteria in their creative makeup, and we have a wide range of ideas of what works effectively and not so effectively in merchandising and multimedia. That's part 2 of the Bronze Age. If you like this video, please click like. If you like this channel, please click subscribe and share this channel with a friend. I hope we can get some discussion going. Agree, disagree, something I didn't mention, please comment below. We're still all cooped up over the current health climate, but I do hope to see an end of that as soon as possible. But let's remain mindful of the habits we're supposed to be doing. I'll always leave the link to order Sledge number 1 for orders. We're still working on Sledge number 2. But everybody, be safe and God bless.